Okay, at least. Thanks all for joining. Tonight we are going to discuss about the book Poetics, a literary criticism written by Aristotle, a Greek writer. You know that I discussed and I took two classes in Bangla language so that you can capture every single point of this book. But the matter of regret is this entire book is not under our syllabus. This is a matter of regret. If this book will have included in our syllabus, then we could enjoy the entire book. Really. But the regret is, as we are idle, we are very lazy, and we have so many books in third year, so we are not interested to complete this entire book interestingly. We are not interested actually. So whatever I discussed within two lectures in Bangla, this all actually is for your syllabus, nothing else. Everything you will get in your syllabus, and these two Bangla classes are enough for your entire book, for your entire syllabus, for your final exam. But now it's time to listen in English. This is very important. As I started this book as a book of literary criticism written by Aristotle. Aristotle, he was a student of Plato. Plato, a man of a scholar, a man of letters, a philosopher, a theologian, a politician, and a scientist also. Plato, okay? A Greek citizen, Plato. During the lifetime of Plato, poetry was not very good. According to Plato, poetry is not good. And before that, I would like to tell you that in this book, you will get the information of poetry, tragedy, and epic poetry. Remember, Aristotle discussed about the formation, about the function, about the structure, function, formation, structure of tragedy, poetry, and epic poetry. Remember this one. So, Poetics by Aristotle will tell you about the function, about the convention, about the conditions, about the structure of poetry, tragedy, and epic poetry. Okay, so this is very important. So Plato, the teacher, he was the teacher of Aristotle. Plato charges, or he charged against the formation of poetry, against the definition of poetry, against the theme of poetry. Remember, Plato told about the theme of poetry, about the formation of poetry, and about this structure of literature, structure of art. Okay, a structure of art, that is poetry. Plato said that poetry is actually an imitation. Imitation means mimesis. Mimesis in Greek language, but in English, imitation. That means copy. Plato said that poets, they copied the real world. Their creation, their arts is actually copy of copy, shadow of shadow, shadow of shadow, imitation of imitation, copy of copy. This is the opinion of Plato. And poets don't know about truth knowledge. Poets don't know about truth, because they compose poetry on lies. They don't know about truth. This is the charge of Plato. And he said that poets are liars and poetry is the mother of lies, because nothing is real in the creation of the poets. Nothing is real in the creation of the poets. Everything is the exact or direct imitation. According to Plato, nothing is in the creation of poets. Everything is actually direct imitation of the real world. That is why their poetry is the shadow of shadow, copy of copy, imitation of imitation. And this is the actually written part of the visual beauty of this world. This is the charge of Plato. So poets don't know about the truth. Okay, so Plato's understood that this kind of poetry which represents lies, which can be called the mother of lies, such kind of poetry is not well for the youth generation. The youth generation, they will be misguided, and they are going to be misguided by such kind of poetry. So this kind of poetry should be rejected according to Plato. That's why Plato, in order to teach the real philosophy of life, in order to teach the in order to tell something real poetry, Plato established a new school, and he was the founder of that school. And in that school, his student was Aristotle. Aristotle was the student of Plato. Then Aristotle understood about imitation. Remember, first Plato talked about imitation. First of all, Plato discussed about the word mimesis, I mean imitation. And Aristotle understood that my teacher Plato is telling that poets are liars and poetry is the mother of lies because of this charge that poets directly imitate the visual world. Okay, this is actually the creation of the poet. Then Aristotle understood that probably this is the incomplete definition of poetry, and this charge is not right. So Aristotle replied his teacher, and Aristotle wrote that actually poets not only the poets imitate, but every branches of art is based on imitation. That means musicians imitate, singers imitate, players imitate, and even human life is the source of imitation. Okay, so imitation is the basic form of arts, every single art, every branches of art. So imitation is not illegal, but the charge of Plato is not right, because the poets and the writers, they observe the pictures of real world. They observe the world, and they try to understand what is going on inward the visual things, even inside the human mind, inside the human life. Okay, so the poets observed what is going on inside the heart of human, inside the brain of human. Okay, so this is a sensational matter. This is a matter of senses. So first of all, the poets, they observed, they imitates the life and action of human, then they express their creative process, and in order to express their creative process, they imitate the lifestyle of human, not external lifestyle, but internal lifestyle. I mean, poets represent the inward picture of human life and their action. So this is of course imitation, but not direct imitation. Okay, this is actually the definition of Aristotle. That means Aristotle said that the charge of my teacher is not right, but it's about senses and creative process by images, imagination, and the representation of internal part of human life and action. Okay, so Aristotle helped to complete the definition of imitation. So imitation is something different to Aristotle, and imitation is not the imitation of Plato. His imitation is not like the imitation of Plato, but the word imitation first used by Plato, and Aristotle borrowed or hired this word from his teacher Plato. Okay, so this imitation, this word is not only for the poets, but for all branches of arts, for the musician, for the dancer, for the singer, for the dramatist, for the writers, for the tragedian, for all branches of literature, for all branches of arts. Okay, so this is first discussion on imitation. So there are different kind of imitation, that how can you imitate, or which part of human life you can imitate, or how you can imitate. Okay, so in order to do so, you can imitate, that is called the imitation of media or media of imitation. First, media of imitation, then second is objects of imitation, then the manners of imitation. The three kinds of imitations: first of all media of imitations, then objects of imitations, then manners of imitations. Okay, so when we discussed about the objects of imitation, we discussed about ethos, pathos and praxis. Ethos, pathos and praxis. You know, object of emotions means it refers to the main and action. The target of object of imitation is human and their actions, I mean their activities, daily life term. Okay, so ethos is actually something that is permanent. Permanent suffering of human life. To collect the theme of your text, to collect the theme of your writing, you can collect your theme from the human life and their action. What kind of ethos is actually the permanent suffering that is not changeable, and pathos is the transitory suffering, transitory. Okay, that is a kind of mood, or you can say attitude, feelings of human life. That is also transitive or transitory. That is called pathos. And ethos is actually that is not changeable, that is permanent. And you know, then I shared the next screen, that is all about tragedy. Okay, you know, tragedy is a form of literature. According to Aristotle, he said the definition of tragedy, the function of tragedy, the constituents of tragedy, that means the construction of tragedy, that means what are the different parts of tragedy, or what is plot, or what is characters, what is diction, you know, and then what is a song, okay, or choral song, or what is thought. So what should be the conditions for the writers? This is all about Greek literature, not English literature, for Greek literature. But later, English writers and poets, dramatists, novelists, they inspired by the structure formation of Aristotle, which he has given in his Poetics. Okay, later English writer, they were inspired by it. Okay, so Aristotle, he has given the definition of tragedy. First of all, he has given the definition of poetry. For a tragedian, what kind of formulas, what kind of elements he must use in order to compose a tragedy. Okay, and how he will select the tragic hero. How can he add Hamartia, catharsis, catastrophe, Hamartia, catharsis, catastrophe, and how can he use the role of fate in the Greek tragedy? Okay, and his tragedy will tell us about morality or about religious morality. Okay, and he also told about thematic matter and about structural matter. Aristotle told us about tragedy both structural and thematical. If you think about the thematical matter, that what kind of conditions Aristotle told us through this Poetics, that is actually that everything cannot be the part of literature. Everything or anything, you can say anything can't be the part of your literature, but there are conditions. Unreal things can't be the part of your writing. But you will create something that will be related to the human life, that will be related to the real world. Okay, you will create something, you will write something that is related to the human life, that can be happen in the human life, that is going to be happen in the human life. Actually, tragedy is like that something is going to be happen in human life. the tragedian will create such a story, such actions which will be matched with the human life. Then this is accepted, otherwise not. Okay, so that will tell you truth and morality. It's not possible that you will directly compose only the imaginative matters. No, you will use your imaginative power, you will show your creativity, you will use your imaginative power, you will show your creativity, and you will imitate from the human life, so that it can be matched with the human life and action. Then this is accepted. Okay, so this is actually thematical matter and a structural matter. You know that during that time, during the ancient time, so Aristotle talked about three great tragedians, Euripides, Aeschylus, and Sophocles. And Aristotle also exemplified, and he brought the name of Aristotle, and he used the name of Aristotle, Euripides, and Aeschylus as an example in order to prove different structure. Okay, that means how Sophocles maintained the function of a tragedy. Okay, so Aristotle, he said that first of all, a tragedy must have 6 parts. A tragedy, it has 6 parts. The most important 6 parts which a tragedy must have. The first one is plot. Plot refers to the actions of the tragedy. Plot refers to the incidents of the tragedy, events of the tragedy, stories of the tragedy, which is one is related to another. Okay, this is called plot. The small stories will create a plot and action of a tragedy. Okay, and the small stories are not different. It is one is related to another. That means after one scene, then next scene, then second scene, then third scene, then fourth scene. So they will maintain it. So such kind of little stories or incidents or events. Okay, this is actually called plot. That is the action of the play. This is main. This is the soul of the play. So action or plot is the soul of the tragedy or of a play. Okay. Then characters. Characters are the imaginative characters. Characters means imaginative. Writers create characters by their imagination in order to express dialogues in verses, or in order to express dialogues, and they will present the action of the play on the stage. They are actually characters. Then diction. Diction is the use of verses, use of dialogues, use of words in the tragedy or in the play. This is called diction. So through the dictions, a tragedy can be good, a tragedy can be famous through the diction, because diction refers to the use of perfect verses, dialogues in a play, whether it is a tragedy or comedy, whatever. Then thought. Thought is related to the writers. Thought is related to the tragedians. That means through their plot, through their characters, through their dictions, they will set a thought that will be called morality or lessons for the audience. Okay, thought means that is the lesson for the audience, for the readers. So they will set a lesson for the readers and for the audience in their play through their plot. Okay, and remember, according to Aristotle, and he emphasized on it, that a tragedy will have only one plot. Remember, a tragedy will have only one plot without any subplot. Only one story. And the other story will be supportive story. Try to understand. The other stories will be supportive story. Otherwise, a tragedy will be on one story, one plot. And in order to support this one story, the story of one person, the other story will help this story. For example, when we learned about Oedipus, there was Creon, there was conversation about Creon, about Tiresias, about Jocasta, about King Leas. So these are small stories. These stories are the helpers to develop the story of Oedipus. Okay. Otherwise, this is only one plot, one story. That is the story of Oedipus. And these are not subplot, but these are the small events or small stories in order to fulfill the main plot. Okay, and according to Aristotle, a tragedy must have one plot, not any subplot. Okay, then a spectacle means this is related to the stage. During the performance of the tragedy, a spectacle is related to the performance of the tragedy. When you will perform your tragedy on the stage, then the stage materials are called spectacle. Okay, this is a spectacle. And song means song in your tragedy, I mean choral song. There will be a group of chorus in your tragedy. They will sing songs, religious songs, or they will advise through their singing and dancing. The group of chorus. Okay, one event after another, one event after another event, or one incident after another incident. Okay, and you know that there are quantitative parts in a tragedy. The first part of the tragedy is called prologue. What is prologue? Prologue introduces the characters of the play, characters of the tragedy, the main theme of the tragedy, main characters of the tragedy. Prologue means introduction or preface. Okay, then episode. What is episode? As I told you, a time or a conversation or an event or incident between two chorus songs. Between two chorus songs, for example, in the beginning, the chorus, by the song of the chorus, a tragedy begins. In the beginning, by the song of the chorus, after the prologue, by the song of the chorus, a tragedy begins. Then after the conversation, again the chorus started to sing. So this conversation, this incident between two choral songs is called actually episode. Okay, exode. What is exode? Exode means exit, the end of the play, the end of the stage performance, the end of the theatrical performance. Okay, that is called exode. And another is the choral song. Of course, your tragedy must maintain a group of chorus. Your tragedy must maintain a group of chorus. Okay, this is actually all about tragedy. And Aristotle also said about dramatic unities. Dramatic unities, whether it is a tragedy or comedy, you must maintain dramatic unities. Aristotle emphasized on unity of action, because this is very important for Aristotle. We know that there are three dramatic unities: unity of action, unity of place, unity of time. But Aristotle mainly emphasized on the unity of action. Unity of action refers to the plot of the play. Unity of action refers to the plot of the play. Remember. So Aristotle emphasized on the unity of action. It was very important for Aristotle. But directly Aristotle did not say that. Unity of time, unity of place. Okay, unity of time, unity of place. But these came automatically, and that's why it is said that according to Aristotle there are three unities in tragedy. Number one, unity of time, that your tragedy must maintain a specific time. That is one sun, that is about one circuit of the sun. It is used that the circuit of the sun. That means a sun refers to 24 hours, not 12 hours. Remember, a sun refers to 24 hours, not 12 hours. Remember this one. A sun refers to 24 hours, not 12 hours. So Aristotle wants to say that if you are a tragedian and if you would like to perform your tragedy on the stage, you must complete your plot, you must complete your action, you must complete your whole play on the stage within 24 hours. This is the highest time. Okay, this is the highest time. And he also said, Aristotle also said 24 hours or near that, or more than, something more than 24 hours. But 24 hours the maximum time, the highest time. That means you must complete your tragedy on the stage within 24 hours. This is called the unity of time, the maintenance of time in the play, in the drama. Then the second one is the unity of place. You will have one stage, one single place, or one single city. So you cannot move, you cannot change your stage. You will use one single stage or one single place, one single town in order to perform your entire play. You cannot change your stage. So the maintenance of a single place or a single land, single city, single town is called the unity of place. So a single place, single stage, you will perform your play within 24 hours. So this is actually unity of time and unity of place. Now the most important is unity of action. This is very important. But in the case of unity of action, Aristotle said that there will be unity of action refers to the activities of the characters, the activities of the play. Unity of action refers to the plot of the play. Plot refers to the events and incidents of the entire play. Try to understand. Unity of action refers to the activities of the play. And the activities of the play, the plot of the play. And plot refers to the events and incidents of the play. Okay? Events and incidents and story of the play. So Aristotle wants to say that there will be one single story, and regarding this single story there will be little incidents which will help you to develop the story from the happier to misery. By those small stories, by those small incidents and events, the story, the main story of the tragedy will go from happiness to the misery. Happiness to the misery. Because there will be tragic fall. There will be catastrophe. Catastrophe refers to the tragic fall. Okay? Catastrophe refers to the tragic fall. So this is actually, in the case of Aristotle, this is the most important which Aristotle emphasized. Which on Aristotle emphasized. জোর দিয়েছেন কোনটাতে? যে you have to maintain the unity of action. Unity of action refers to the plot of the play. Plot refers to the incidents and events of the play. Okay? So there will be one story regarding one person or one place. Okay? This is actually the three unities according to Aristotle. And these three unities are called dramatic unities. So as a writer, if you are a tragedian or a playwright or a dramatist, you must maintain these three unities of drama, unities of play, according to Greek literature, according to Aristotle. Okay? But in modern drama, the modern dramatist, they believe that there will be unity of action, but they don't believe that there will be a single story. There can be different incidents, there can be subplot, there can be plot and subplot. This is the opinion of the modern dramatist. Okay, that's why William Shakespeare added more stories of more person in his comedy, in his tragedy. But in Greek tragedy, there will be one story. There will be a single story. Okay. So this is about tragedy. According to Aristotle, you will have under your syllabus in honors third year, and this is enough for you. Now the next elements are, for example, what is tragic hero? How can you select a tragic hero? What are the virtues? What are the qualities? Not virtues, but what are the qualities of a tragic hero? So the first quality is the tragic hero is not merely virtuous, merely good. The second quality is it is not the worst, merely worst. And he will have the error of judgment. He will have a few few error in his character. What is that? That is, you can say, a pride or arrogant, self-pride, self-confidence, arrogant or arrogance. He will be arrogant, but his problem is he will have arrogance, self-pride and self-confidence. These are the error of judgment. And the fourth quality or the fourth virtue of a tragic hero is he will be covered by his fate, and this is the great weakness of his life. The tragic hero will have weakness. This weakness is related to his fate, written fate. Okay, the tragic hero will have a written fate that will lead him from happiness to misery. That will help him from happiness to misery. And the tragic hero will have error of judgment in his character. Error of judgment. What is that? That is, you can say, the arrogance, self-pride and self-confidence. Sometimes the tragic hero will avoid the clear things. Sometimes the tragic hero cannot see the open truth. Sometimes the tragic hero cannot see the open truth because of his lack of knowledge, because of his self-confidence. The tragic hero will be unable in his place, in his character, that he cannot see, or he won't see the truth by his eyes because of his lack of knowledge. Okay, so these are the qualities of a tragic hero according to Aristotle. These should be the qualities of a tragic hero, and he will be an ideal tragic hero. So what is Hamartia? What is catharsis? You know what is catastrophe. You know catastrophe, first of all, catastrophe. Catastrophe refers to the tragic fall. Tragic fall. When tragic fall comes, you know, tragic fall comes in the end of the play. When all truths are before the tragic hero. When all truths are proved and everything is before the tragic hero, then the hero understood that he has gone and it is his tragic moment. He has no way. This is called the fall of the tragic hero. This is called catastrophe. The fall of tragic hero, this is called catastrophe. And because of the fall of the tragic hero, there will be catharsis in the mind of the audience. So catastrophe is related to the tragic hero, and catharsis is related to the audience. Catharsis refers to pity and fear in the heart of the audience, and catharsis also refers to the tragic pleasure. Whatever it is sad or whatever it is happiness, the audience are happy in the end of the play. Okay, so after observing the entire tragedy, the entire play on the stage, in the end of the play, when the hero becomes tragic hero, or he fell down, then a kind of pity and fear worked in the heart of the audience. This is called catharsis. Okay, this is called catharsis, and catharsis is related to the audience. And you know, catastrophe means tragic fall. Okay, tragic fall, catastrophe. And another word is actually tragic fellow. F-L-A-W, tragic fellow. Tragic fellow is related to the fate of the tragic hero. Tragic fellow is related to the fate of the tragic hero. Tragic fellow is also called tragic fate. As you know that about Oedipus, the fate of Oedipus was that he will kill his father and he will share the bed of her mother. So this is the fate of Oedipus. Okay, and this fate is called tragic fate. And because of this written fate, this tragic fate will lead the tragic hero from his happiness to misery, from his happiness to his fall. Okay, and this is called his tragic fall. So tragic fall is related to catastrophe. Tragic fellow is related to a tragic fate, and both are related to the tragic hero. Ajida, have you got it? Ajida, talk to me. So, tragic fall refers to catastrophe, and tragic fellow means tragic fate, for which the tragic fall comes, okay, in the life of the tragic hero. And what is catharsis? Catharsis is the rising pity and fear in the minds of the audience. So there are different ways of catharsis. For example, purification, clarification. First of all, purification and clarification, okay, regarding the audience. And another is Hamartia. Hamartia is very important. Hamartia is actually refers to the simply in English. If you would like to explain the word Hamartia, you can say Hamartia is actually the error of judgment in the character of tragic hero, and a Hamartia leads to the central character, to the protagonist, from happiness to his misery, from happiness to his tragic fall. This is called Hamartia. So different way of Hamartia. First of all, arrogance. So arrogance can bring Hamartia in the life of tragic hero. Then self confidence can bring the tragic fall or tragic moment in the life of tragic hero. Then self pride or arrogance, these both can brought Hamartia in the life of tragic hero, okay. So arrogance, self pride and confidence, extra confidence, for these virtues, for these qualities, tragic fall comes in the life of tragic hero, okay. Ajida, can you explain what I said right now? What is catastrophe? What is catharsis? What is Hamartia? What is tragic fellow or tragic fate? Can you explain it, Ajida?